Well, Eric, getting into things here this week, of course, wanted to look a little bit at the weekend rain cap of what we saw. Some areas, of course, got some decent rainfall, continuing to fill in some pockets, as well as building some moisture reserves. Can you talk about that a little bit, especially as, some areas are looking to see a little bit of a heat up in temperatures, and we're wanting to see some of these moisture reserves actually help with that as well.
Yeah, I remember just before the weekend, we had a lot of severe weather that came out of Montana, hit North Dakota. And then over the weekend, there was this storm system that started here and ripped through Nebraska into Iowa, did a lot of damage. But there was a deeper low that moved up into Canada, put some rain on the wildfire smoke. And then I'm not sure if you heard about this over the weekend, but same storm system stalled out several storms over the top of Milwaukee, and they had some places got over 10 inches of rainfall there. So again, it's more flash flooding. 2025 is still record pace for the most flash flooding events through this point in the year. We also have to think more about this wildfire smoke. This was yesterday as the sun was trying to set, just smoke from Canada, smoke from the Western United States. And what I'm thinking about here is yes, we still have more of this in the atmosphere over the next 48 hours, which is the animation that you're watching here, which just reset. But I've been asking myself bigger questions about this smoke this year, trying to just assess if it has been a problem. Because what it does is it gives you more diffuse sunlight. It can even block sunlight. And it's been there for months, right? We've been dealing with this, especially in the upper Midwest. So I worked on a graphic. I'm not settled on this yet. This does have data from the Climate Prediction Center in it. Whenever you see the blue, that's below normal solar radiation. In other words, how much, of the sun's light actually gets down to the surface. And there are deficits. So I know we've seen record high NDVI values, but you're hearing guys talk about problems they're seeing in their individual fields, and they've asked me to look at the lack of cloud, excuse me, the abundance of cloud cover and the smoke combining to reduce sunlight. So something to think about just in this area that you see in these cooler colors. Now, the other side of this is with all that cloud cover, okay, mixed in with the smoke, it's been raining. And it's amazing just to look at how much rain has come through this corridor here. Now, we've developed drought in parts of Michigan. You come into this section of Missouri, Southern Illinois, parts of Western Tennessee, Kentucky, and go on down through the Delta, and it has been extremely dry as of late. But our soil moisture values, okay, they're starting to show some problems in the Delta. There's that drier region into Michigan, getting over into this part of Ontario, which, by the way, they grow some pretty stellar corn in that part of Ontario as well. But in the West, we've actually had rain get on top of this as of late. So as you look down there to 16 inches, it's just important to understand you got a crop in it that's probably getting quite a bit of precipitation out of it. Now, over the weekend, cool down northwest, cool in the east, but another surge of heat that started, late last week and then hit the Midwestern United States and upper Midwest. But I'm trying to put all this heat into context and try to understand its longevity as well, knowing that while we're talking about waves of heat here, the Southwestern United States is just shattering records with respect to heat this year. So here you go. Here's a quick rundown of the temperatures. Okay, next 5 days. Now watch this. Day 5 through 10, hey, we're warming up again, right? And then watch day 10 through 15, all the heat comes back here. And we've just seen that, right? It's been this thing where, yeah, there's been some hot nights, but the daytime max heat's like 4, 5, 6, 7 days of it, and then it cools off again. And then 4, 5, 6, 7 days of it, and it cools off again. And I'm curious what that does in total to the stress on the crop. There's going to be another potential stressor coming as well, and that is they just named literally before you and I recorded this. The name Aaron is our next tropical storm. It is expected to strengthen, becoming a major hurricane over the next 7 days. And most model forecasts have it following some sort of trajectory like this right now, missing the United States. Now, that's 10 to 12 days away from here, so we don't really know exactly where it's going to be, but best model guidance keeps this somewhere between the East Coast and Bermuda as we look out there farther. So, what are we dealing with? Well, we still have our La Nina signals. There's plenty of warm water for these hurricanes to show up. And I want to know how the two are going to interact because I'll tell you something, Dawson. When I see the trade winds this strong at this point in the year, it tells me to tell you that La Nina is going to be becoming a bigger part of our fall and winter story. I mean, that's what those blue-greens colors tell me. That means that the winds are going quickly across this area. So put that in the back of your head because it's going to be a Central U.S. versus West Coast narrative, I think, going forward. And right now, the heat's west. There's all the smoke problems in the upper Midwest. But we have questions as to how that's going to evolve. The good news is over the next 3 days, I don't have any large areas that are kind of under the gun for severe weather. It's great to see 3 maps in a row, no big areas of risk, but I do want you to pay attention down here, Texas and Oklahoma, where there could be some very heavy rainfall coming up. I will mention that later this week on Thursday, we're going to watch a Red River Valley of the North for severe weather, but that'd be 4 days when you include today. So here you go. This is what I'm watching for tonight. Along this stalled out boundary right here, we're watching for some flooding rains to get into the southern plains. We're going to watch these storms slowly as you get into the day on Tuesday, fill into this region as this low moves on out. And then we're going to wait on the next system. And you can already start to see some of that coming over there. So you put it all together, Dawson, and the country looks like this for the next 15 days. And if this doesn't look familiar, I don't know what else to tell you. Storms in the southeast, an active corridor right in through there. You can see it pretty clearly. This area, which has been dry, has been getting drier. And there's Aaron, according to the European model. So I remember a few weeks ago I said wash, rinse, repeat. There you go. That's what it looks like. From there, let's take a look at the week 2. Every major model wants to drop a ridge of high pressure over the southwest. That's the GFS. This is the European. That's the artificial intelligence. By the way, that's where the AI model's putting Aaron just for reference. But we're talking about this right now. And so what I'm concerned about is what does that mean for week 2 precipitation? And I'll be honest with you, I think that the National Weather Service probably has the best graphic on this. I think this is a good idea about what week 2 may look like. But this dryness in here, I don't think will last long. I think we're going to push through it with more storms coming into this area. And I would expand the dryness that they're not really showing here. Okay, I know we've already gone a lot here, but there's just a lot on my mind to start this new week. And temperature's been the biggest thing. Because when you look back from mid-June to now August 10th, we've had a lot of heat in the Eastern Corn Belt. There's no doubt about it. If you compare that to one of our really, really hot summers like 2010, which was in most cases much hotter for the eastern half of the United States, there were significant yield overestimates that were made in July and August, right? So we found out later in the year that the heat was more of a problem. But one state that's jumping out to me is Indiana and, of course, Ohio. But I'm going to look at Indiana for you for a second because 2010, for that time period, was actually just slightly cooler than in 2025. And this is what I mean. There's the 2025 data for June and July. It's now the new hottest. And these other years in the past where they were hot were 10 and 11. Or 1999 or 2002 or 1991 or 87. Those were not good yielding years. The daytime temperatures have not been too hot, though. I mean, some would say, oh, it's been a hot summer, but I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, top 20 hot summer. That's not a hot summer. I mean, we've been much, much hotter than this in this part of the country. So it's not going to be about how quickly we're accumulating stress degree days, which account for the heat during the day. It's what did the overnight low temperatures do? This is some work from Dr. Elwin Taylor out of Iowa State. He says you get over 140 SDDs and we look at yield loss. All right, so we've hit it in Illinois, southern Indiana, parts of Missouri, Nebraska. You can't use this data down south, but you can use it in this corridor. And that's honestly reflecting not a whole lot of excess daytime heat, even though we're going to complain that this year is going to be hot. I think what's preventing that is just how humid it gets every day. So the atmosphere opens up in storms. And that's what things look like since the middle of June. It's been much above average on the amount of humidity in the atmosphere in this area, which is also keeping the overnight low temperatures as warm as they've been. So Dawson, here we go, real fast. Today's temperatures. This is tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. See how it comes in waves, but it doesn't last. Here's another view. This is from the GFS. There's your next 5 days. There's day 5 through 10. Now watch 10 through 15. All right, that seems to be the way it wants to go. So a lot of questions are getting asked right now before these big crop tours, and we're trying to answer them with some meteorology, but there's a whole lot else going on with plant physiology and all that other stuff too. So that's what I got for the near term.
I was going to say too quickly before we get to that long range is, kind of just looking at as we're, seeing this heat up times and then cool down times and then still bringing moisture in between that. I mean,
Yeah.
still relatively, as you said, is keeping those what we call stress degrees low or stress degree days low and maybe just not coming at as much of a detriment to the crop until we really get in there and see what things look like later. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still seeing a lot of reports of, some disease pressure, But at the same time, a lot of guys are saying that those that are having that disease pressure, it's not really, a huge concern because they're able to counteract it a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, I talked to a guy last night in Nebraska and over the weekend to a guy in Iowa, and they're like, we actually want the heat. Bring on some warmer temperatures. I want to dry some of this out. I want to
Right.
get, I've not had the sunlight I wanted. I need to get this crop to the finish line sooner. So yeah, so I guess are they going to get it? Well, the government, their forecast for week 3, week 4, look at that, equal chances for most of the Corn Belt, and they're a bit drier. Maybe in the Great Lakes over toward the Northeast, I could buy that, but I would say in that corridor, we're probably going to continue to see more storms. Now, these forecasts this time of year for the Southeast are never going to verify because of any tropical system. They just can't predict those out that far. But it is interesting to see that, our longer range models, this is the GFS. It's a little drier in through here, but it's got an active southwest monsoon. No way. I don't think that's going to happen. And here's the European model. All right. Now the European model is giving us that signal. Can you kind of see it in there? I just think it gets more into this area while we possibly get drier. I'd say drier from here than through that corridor. I don't know. I don't buy either of these forecasts from these longer range models. So what do I buy? I'm going to buy what's going on in the tropics. So Dawson, longer range, this is my thought process. We seem to be settling into an MJO phase 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now you're going, what does that mean? Well, phase 3 tends to produce a big southwestern United States ridge. So what do you get? Storms come in over the top and they just, I don't know if you can see my black arrows, but that's what they tend to do in that particular situation. I think we're going to see more of that than anything else. Now, beyond that, if we get into September, take a look at this. If we go from 2020 to 2024, at some point in September, in most of those years except one, we went drier. And when you look back at all those years, they had La Ninas, warm Atlantics, warm North Pacific. And that is what drove the pattern to give us this drier fall. So you say, well, what do we have right now? Well, the forecast for September, October, November, released by the government, say warmer. And they also say, 4 out of the 5 were drier, and they've got the dryness here. And I can't argue with it, but I'll tell you something. That September, October, November trend for the United States, it's robust, statistically significant. We have seen warmer conditions year in and year out across the Corn Belt, across the country, and it's a longer term statistically significant trend we can't ignore. So when you come back here and go, why is it so warm? Well, that's the pattern we've been in for quite some time. So the last thing to think about is, well, what are the models saying? And I really just don't care anymore. Normally, there are years where I'm like, oh, just stick with the model. Got it right. Got it right. Got it right. This year, the model's been off since April, and it's going off. Super, not super, but very wet here. And you're going, well, where's the evidence for that? Given what the ocean temperatures are doing, given what the historical precedence is, given the near-term forecast. So I'm not going to buy into it. Maybe I'll buy more into the NNME. So guess what it does? Keeps that corridor wet. And we've seen that. We know that. Okay. It keeps it normal to wetter than normal in a few places. That makes a bit more sense to me. And then Dawson, the last thing is every model, though, is trying to bring in early rains into late September and October down into Brazil while keeping it drier in southern Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay, which is going to be a story you and I'll be covering a whole lot more detail as we get into September. Which, by the way, have you heard? Are they going to be allowed to plant on September 1 again, like they did the last 2 years?
I haven't heard anything different. So, I mean, that's still probably a possibility. I mean, if they're seeing that it's not going to be much of a detriment to the crop, isn't that what determines those earlier plantings? So
I
I
don't
guess
know.
I don't know. I guess I haven't heard anything different this year of what.
All I know is this, okay? They got permission to do it, I think, 2 years in a row. Correct me if
Mhm.
I'm wrong, or we'll figure that later. How often do you get permission to do something twice and then the third time, someone says no, right? Maybe my parents did that to me as a kid, but I don't think the government's going to do that, especially in South America where ag is such a big part of their economy. I imagine they're going to get the green light to plant whenever they want. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be the case with especially the expansion that we've seen over the decades, that it just continues to of them wanting to increase their global competitiveness with the United States in general.
Yeah.
But going back to that last forecast too for the U.S., I mean, it just seems like if if you're buying the forecast of near to below normal or precipitation for a lot of that fall time period, I mean, that seems to be what we're kind of wanting is, and the areas that still need that precip, get it in there while trying to harvest at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with this forecast.
Yeah.
I bet everybody in your state, most people in Illinois, look at this and go, bring it on. Like that would be the perfect end of this season. And if it's not as dry as what 2022 and 2024,
Mhm.
then you'll get your fall application done after it. It's going to be it's a perfect scenario. But it's important for us just to stress, Dawson, that this 50-year warming trend is pushing back first frost dates in fall statistically. We are not seeing the same trend at the front of the season. Just so you know, this is not mimicked in spring. It's only a fall trend that's, I think, worth watching. And if you're going, well, what do you relate it all to? I can show you. Let's go find this real quick here. Where did I put those ocean temperatures? Oh dear. Let's just pull up the new map so you can see it. If you look, over the last 50 years, the North Pacific has been taking on a whole lot more heat. It retains it later in the season because the ocean takes 5 times the energy to heat and cool as land does. So the jet just wants to live a little farther north. That's all. Just stays north longer. And as a net effect, we get a little bit more of a mild fall.
Yeah, for sure. Something to keep in mind, I guess, moving forward with how the fall could shape up, continuing to work through August. So always appreciate your insights for this week. And as we move forward through the rest of the season, we're going to be watching those closely. But again, thank you, Eric.
Yep, you bet.